don't wait. Like, it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to feel perfectly ready, to like step in to this new life, this new adventure, this new, season. Just give yourself one little baby step. Start small and embrace that, because that's where real change really occurs, because believe it or not, that's where the clarity comes from. That's where the confidence comes from, when we really just say, oh, you know what? Okay, I'm going to do this.
Welcome. I'm Amrita, and this is the Amrita Effect. Real conversations about identity, resilience, and becoming for women in the middle of figuring themselves out or finding their way back to who they really are. This episode is made possible with support from Fabio Gula at Luminant Bank. If you're thinking about buying or refinancing, Fabio offers over 35 years of experience and helps match you with the right loan, not just a one-size-fits-all. This episode is made possible with support from Tyler McBroom at TRM CPA. They are a proactive CPA company helping business owners maximize profits and pay as little tax as legally possible. Hello, friends. It's Amrita with the Amrita Effect. I'm so glad you're here. I have an incredible guest with us today, Patricia Diesel in New Jersey. Before I go on, did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good. I'm always paranoid about that. So Patricia Diesel is a New Jersey-based productivity expert, life coach, chronic disorganization specialist. That's the first I've heard of that. And a founder of Keep It Simple Now, LLC. She integrates behavioral psychology with practical organizing systems to help individuals and corporations or leaders overcome executive function challenges and achieve mental clarity. She is also an author of multiple books. Her expertise has been featured on Good Morning America, TLC, PBS, and in major publications like Cosmopolitan. Welcome. I'm so excited you're here. I can't wait to dive in with you.
Yes, thank you for having me. Really, really excited.
Yes, me too. So is the audience, because I feel like this topic is not enough. It's not talked about enough, because we talk about our surroundings and our environment, but there's so much clutter in the mind that holds us back and we don't even realize it. I mean, it's the never ending joke, right? Like a woman has 75 tabs open. If you could imagine, a browser with all these tabs, and there's music playing from one of them and you can't find which one it is while you're trying to think, right? Like that's reality. So talk to me about the transition you made, because you were originally a professional organizer and you went from that to a life coach specializing in this thing called chronic disorganization. What sparked that? And tell me a little bit about what this chronic disorganization is.
Sure. Okay. So, first of all, I still consider myself a professional organizer, because that never really goes away, right? It's the foundation of my coaching, right? Because that's the type of clients that I work with, who want to get their environment, their space in order. But I also know, as an organizer and now as a coach for, 27 years or so, that it's never really about the stuff, right? It's not about the space. And so I started realizing that people weren't struggling because they didn't know how to organize, right? They were struggling because something deeper was keeping them stuck. And I noticed that, it was interesting because people really wanted results, right? And if I didn't get deeper into the human behavior aspect and the chronic disorganization, then this cycle of clutter would come back. And that's when I realized, aha, I need to do something a little bit deeper about that.
Interesting. Okay. So you've provoked a thought, because, I try to declutter my space. Like, let's just use a side table, for example, right? Your night table, your bedside table, and I'll declutter it, but it comes back. It doesn't stay decluttered. So like, what's the challenge? So Tell me a little bit more about that. Like, why does it come back? What is the connection from a neuro standpoint?
Well, because people never really get to the root cause, right? They really just focus on the space and not what's really creating the clutter to begin with. And that's really what we need to do. We need to dive in and figure out, what are the patterns and behaviors and the cycles that are occurring over and over that are creating this clutter that won't go away.
So, what? Give me an example. What could be a root cause? I know you don't know me or my situation, but like as an example.
Sure, a root cause could simply be an emotional attachment to something, right? It can be caused by grief, by loss, anything where we're still attached to something that we're not even aware of that we're doing, right? And so the chronic disorganization is usually a sign, right, that this is constantly coming back and I'm struggling. Now, let me make a point because you brought something up that was interesting, right? Which is I've always maintained this, and this is, I don't think I'm ever going to change my mind at this age, but 99, I used to say 99.9, but I'll say 99 for today's sake, percent of people can get organized. Why is that? It's because it's a life skill. It's a skill set that I can teach people. Now, some people grab it quicker. Some people are a little, it takes a little more time. Okay, but that's only one aspect of it. So if we deal with the skill set and the clutter keeps coming back, now we know it's emotionally rooted.
So now, for the women who are feeling completely overwhelmed by whatever transition they want to go through or in the middle of, what is the very first step that she should use or do to untangle this mental burden that she's carrying?
It's called pause, right? We need to pause, we need to take a breath, and then we need to create the awareness around what's really happening and not focus on getting, the immediate results, like this. What we need to do is really figure out, like, what is creating this overwhelm. And then when we look at that, then we realize, okay, now I can figure out one step at a time and really just break where's it feeling heavy for me right now, rather than trying to figure out the big picture.
Mm, okay. Now, when you say, pausing and trying to figure out, is there a specific tactic or a takeaway that she can go and practice when she needs to pause? Like pausing is hard enough, right? So creating the discipline to make yourself pause is going to be our first challenge, right? Because it's so hard to pause. But let's say we can overcome that and actually pause. What's a practical tactic that you tell your clients to start untangling? Like what's one, two, three? What are the things that you would recommend?
I think what happens is people get in their head, right? And so when you're really overwhelmed, your nervous system gets out of whack, right? And so that nervous system really, it's starting to work on overtime, and it's a protective mechanism. So people really need to learn how to pause. That's the very first step because people go into a reactionary mode, right? Let me fix this right now, get it over with. And and it doesn't work that way, right? We have to really break things down in a very simplistic manner. And so again, it goes back to, can I give myself permission to just stop and pause? And then really ask myself the question, what is happening right now? What is really creating this heaviness that I feel? Where do I feel it? In my chest, in my stomach? Is my head getting fuzzy? And then stay there. And usually the answer appears.
Okay. Now, your philosophy centers around, the uncluttering of the mind, of the heart, not just our physical space that we've talked about.
Hmm.
So, how is our emotional baggage directly tied to our physical clutter?
Well, our environment, right, is really a reflection of what's going on for us. So it's something that I used to talk about all the time. I used to say, our environment is an outward manifestation of what's going on for us internally. And what I mean by that is I could usually walk into a room and I can tell what's going on for a person. Okay. And so what that means is it's like the big joke is Dr. Diesel's coming in the room.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's dissect this, right? Because there's emotional energy in there, right? And unprocessed emotions that are still going on. And so we really need to understand what we're carrying in the room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if a woman is trying to maybe shed an older identity or trying to it's almost like taking another birth, right? Like she's going through a change or shift. Maybe it's a divorce. Maybe the kids are leaving the house. Maybe she's getting married, whatever. And she's trying to figure out what this new identity is. How does clearing her physical space actually help her process that change?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, because remember what I just said earlier. So it's the same thing. Think about decluttering a closet, right? Okay, so that closet holds a lot of emotional memory, right? The dress I wore on this beautiful evening, the shoes I had, when I danced the night away, right? And so when we're trying to create a new identity, we have to look at what we're holding on to. Does it still speak to us today? Does it make sense? Do I feel, good in it? Do I feel sexy in it? Do I feel like this really represents the authenticity of who I am today? So by letting things go, you're really making room for the new you, the new identity that you're trying to create.
So I'm going to use this word because we use it often in real estate as well, like people who hoard and this habit of hoarding. And of course, it comes in obviously many different levels. We're not talking about the extreme hoarding where I need to order a dumpster like I've done in the past for some listings, but you're specializing in this chronic disorganization. You're focusing on this hoarding behavior. What is the psychological root that makes us hold on to things that no longer serves us in the season we're in?
Okay. So it's never really about the stuff, right? It's about what it's holding, what it represents emotionally, which could be grief, it could be loss, it could be fear, it could be control, it could be perfectionism, it could be anything. Okay. And so what we need to do is we need to look at, again, what's underneath all of this desire, this compulsion almost that I want to hold on to my things. And once we are able to work on what is the attachment about, because one of the things you have to understand is everybody has a story, right? Because we're human and we have experiences, and those experiences create those stories. And sometimes those stories create a limiting belief around something. And so that limiting belief for people is, when we're talking in the space of clutter, can be why they're holding on. You know, it could be just, they're even trying to hold on to a person, people, right? So, because they haven't really fully grieved.
Okay. How do you start letting go of stuff without it feeling like panic mode or overwhelm?
Yeah. So simplicity is really about awareness, right? It's really about understanding that well, let me back up. A lot of people think simplicity is letting go of everything, right? Not And that's not it. Simplicity is really about awareness. It's a state of mind. And that state of mind is really, I'm going to let go of the things that burden me now. I'm going to let go of uh, the things that zap my energy, right? I'm going to learn how to instill some boundaries, right? Because when we look at it from that perspective, what we're really doing is we're gaining more energy, right? We're gaining a better understanding of who we are, right? So simplicity, again, it's a state of mind, and it's something that's meaningful for you instead of running around, because we create our own chaos, our own clutter, emotionally and mentally as well.
What I'm hearing you say is it could be as simple as if it's one item a week, even. Like it doesn't all have to be at one shot. We don't have to go in and purge the entire closet or purge the entire nightstand. Just one item, whether it's one item a day, one item a week, as a slow. But as you're doing it, I think there's a processing that needs to happen in the back end. Like, why were you holding on to it to begin with?
Yeah, so to calm the overwhelm, the chaos, right?
Yeah.
What we do is we just take one step at a time. Less is more in this regard, okay? So one baby step, one intentional step. And that calms down the nervous system again, right? Because again, we don't want to, get the jump right in. A lot of people say, "Oh, I want to clean out my house. I want to do the full room." And then they walk into the room and they get completely panicky and overwhelmed. Okay. And so what we need to do is we need to step back, really look at the whole picture and just say, okay, what's one thing that's going to make you feel good today? Right? What's one thing you're ready to say goodbye to?
Okay. So, this concept of simplicity unlocks this inner peace for us, right? How do we practically shift, like the practical shift from the chaos to the mindset of this peace or simplicity that we're talking about?
Hmm. Again, it goes back to this awareness that peace comes from understanding ourselves. You know, everybody's in a rush, right? Everybody wants to get everything done now, today, yesterday, right? And so inner peace, again, comes from simplifying our lives, whatever that may mean. And so we're going to look at it this way, maybe saying no instead of yes, maybe creating small little routines that make us feel better, right? Maybe we just create something or do something for us instead of always for other people. Now, and again, we got to put that in perspective, right? We're putting that in perspective. It's okay to help people.
Right.
It's okay to do things.
Sure.
But when you're running around and you have no time and you're exhausted, you're constantly complaining, that tells me something,
Right.
right? It tells me you're avoiding.
Mm.
And clutter, by the way, loves when you avoid because then it gets to hang around and, build up more. Because clutter doesn't want to go away unless you want it to go away.
Mm. So when we're in the messy, in between phase of life and the in between of the transition, what is the best tool you recommend for your clients for calming the mind when, this next chapter or future feels uncertain?
Well, the best thing is to learn how to stay in the present moment, right? To stay in the now. It's why I created Keep It Simple Now, because I knew that my clients were having a difficult time staying present. They were usually in the past, again, with that grief, that loss, missing people, memories, the emotional memories were alive and kicking, right? Or they were in the future, get me out of here, I can't stand it. The sooner the better. And it doesn't work. Okay, not for long time change. So the practice is helping them how to stay focused in the now. And you do that by one little step at a time, encouraging them to just really just stay in the moment, just write things down, create a little routine for yourself, right? Grounded in that practice really does help.
You talk about that your greatest coaching asset necessarily isn't certifications, but the resilience of this human spirit.
Hmm.
How have you relied on this resilience during tough pivots that you've had personally?
So one of the things that I, really have learned for myself, right, is that the human spirit is strong, right? And really, resilience isn't really about pretending things are easy, you know, that what's happening isn't messy, okay, because it is. And so when we are true to ourselves, when we really can face what's happening, right? we start to really look at it and say, okay, now I'm going to give myself permission to be gentle with myself, you know? And resilience, I believe the human spirit for me personally was, just restarting, reinventing, having faith, even when I didn't understand, even, trusting the process, right? And just knowing that it's not okay where I'm at now. I want something different. I want to create change for myself. So I have to really then trust.
How do you create that trust? How does one create that trust in her own spirit to guide her again if she feels lost?
Well, I think one of the things is a great question is what is this season teaching me?
Mm,
What is happening right now? What am I here to learn about this? How can I grow, elevate, expand myself? That's what really creates change when we start asking ourselves these questions.
yeah, what is this season teaching me? I think that's an important one. And it's not like something is happening to me. It's this is happening for me. So what am I supposed to learn and take away from this?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So keep it simple now. You founded this to help people build lasting systems that work. What is one simple organizing habit that our listeners can take away and adopt today, this week, to lower their anxiety?
Mind sweep.
Ooh, okay. Tell me more about that.
So the mind sweep is really like a brain dump,
Okay.
right? So this is how I teach my clients. Like, think of your mind as like a computer and it's holding all this data, all this information. And so sometimes that information creates a lot of chatter, right? And that chatter can be negative chatter as well, right? And so one of the things when we get a lot of negative chatter, it creates more anxiety, panicky, overwhelm, right? And so the mental sweep is about brain dumping. Get it all out on paper. There's a lot of power from the pen to the paper. Trust me on that one. Okay. And so what you're really doing is it's like a computer. You're just cleaning it out. You're getting the mental debris out. And that really is very, very helpful because it calms the nervous system. See, a lot of this is about, our bodies, our nervous system, how we're reacting to life, So we have to really understand, again, the more aware we are, the better we become at this.
So as we're pivoting, or we're constantly pivoting. So, while we're in these pivots, it's so easy to strip away our time. How can women use your simplification strategies to set better boundaries so they can protect this energy? Because we've talked about how this is a direct relation to our energy and our nervous system. How can we protect that better?
Well, I think one of the things we have to ask ourselves is, when we're talking about boundaries, which is very difficult for some people, okay? Because they have created this habit of being a people pleaser.
I'm a recovering people pleaser myself, actually.
And so this people pleasing aspect also can combine with, avoidance
Mhm.
of what I'm supposed to be doing for myself,
Mm,
right? And again, there's reasons, root causes for all of this. But to answer your question, it's really about looking at if I want to create a boundary, I have to begin again asking myself those questions. Is saying yes to this person really supporting where I'm at right now? Is this really helping me get to where I want to go?
right,
Is this really going to help me feel better? Or am I, again, just doing it to do it?
right,
Right.
right,
And so we have to, again, when someone says, well, I want to create a boundary, you have to ask the questions. Why do you want the boundary?
right,
What's the boundary about? Well, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm depleted. My energy, I'm exhausted. Pulled in many directions. And I always say, let me look at your calendar,
right.
and then we look at the calendar and we say, well, what are the things that are really necessary for you to do? Now, here's another point, which is very interesting. Most people have a very difficult time showing up for themselves.
Yes. Especially women,
Yes.
especially us.
they'll show up for everybody and anything, you know? So I say to them, well, if you go to the doctor and you show up for the appointment, why can't you show up for yourself? What's the difference? You're important,
Right.
right? So schedule the time in. So I make my clients schedule it in. And then if they don't show up for themselves, then we have to ask questions. Well, what was that about?
Mm, interesting. Yeah. You're digging deeper. It's a deeper processing of.
Well, usually because, they don't want to feel, especially women, again, they want people to like them,
Mhm.
and they think this is how they get respect, but they have it backwards. What we're looking at is self respect,
Right.
honoring ourselves, putting ourselves first. It kind of goes back to that whole story the oxygen mask falls down. Okay. All right. So people think you can take care of everybody else. And not yourself. It's this kind of like this badge of honor,
Right.
but it's backwards. That's not the way it goes.
Right. Okay. So now, as you continue to scale your impact as an international speaker, what is the next layer of identity that you're stepping into right now?
Yeah, I think that's a great question too, because, for me, when I was starting out in my business and really learning, all about people, right, and studying human behavior, what makes people tick, that's what really got me into this business for, almost 30 years now, right? It's like it never ceases to amaze me. There's always something or somebody who makes me pause.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, what's that about? I got to figure that one out. I have to dissect that a little further.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fun for me because I learn every client, every person, I learn more about myself. And so, in regards to that question, it's really about before it was more about like, let me achieve this goal, let me write this book, let me speak on this platform, let me do this to grow my business. And now it's more about stepping into being more intentional about my own authenticity, my own voice of who I am today, and being okay with that. Because it took a really long time for me to learn to be okay with myself. Like, you're okay, you know, you're okay, and it's going to be okay. And it going back again to trusting that process comes with sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen, but you have to change because you don't like where you are right now.
Yeah. Lots of honest conversations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Honest conversations, being really honest with yourself, being really, really honest with yourself. Like, what do I want? I have a funny story for you.
Yeah. Tell me.
So, years ago, when I was really in the thick of all this, right? And I had to make some serious decisions, not only personally, but professionally. And there's a mentor, and he asked me, he said, well, what do you want? And I was like, well, I want a lot of things. Where do I begin?
Right. Let me load down the list.
But he's like, yeah, no, that's not what I mean. And that's not how it works. You have to figure out what you really want. And what that means is you have to get honest with yourself because a lot of people know what they want. And I believe that I was coached that way as in coaching. We always believe that the client knows what they want. It's really kind of extracting that from them to get people to be okay and feel that they're worthy enough and they deserve to get what they want. And so he says to me, don't come back until you know what you want.
Interesting. Okay.
And then I can help you. And that really helped me not only personally, but professionally grow my business to help other clients as well by really helping them understand that it is okay to want something, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And again, in the perspective, it's not like, oh, I want to own my own jet tomorrow.
Right.
That's not what we're talking about,
Right.
right? And if you do own your own jet one day, well, kudos to you, right?
Right.
But it's about what do you want now, and then starting from that place and building on that until you get to a place where you're satisfied,
Right.
because everybody's satisfaction level is different.
So what is, in closing, as we get to the end of this, what is your best advice for the woman who is finally ready to clear the chaos and step into her, whatever the next chapter and season is? What is your best advice for her?
Don't wait, right? There's a difference between waiting and pausing,
Yes, indeed.
right?
Yeah,
So don't wait. Like it doesn't have to be like you don't have to feel perfectly ready, to like step in to this new life, this new adventure, this new, season. Just give yourself one little baby step. Start small and embrace that because that's where real change really occurs, because believe it or not, that's where the clarity comes from. That's where the confidence comes from, when we really just say, oh, you know what? Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start today.
that's so good. So much value add here. Thank you for sharing all your wisdom with us. This was so fruitful. I found it very helpful. I hope others did as well. I've gathered a few takeaways. I mean, the one is, this our nervous system is tied to what's happening. So there's a lot of deeper conversations that need to be had. So in terms of not getting overwhelmed with the process, do one item. It could be simple as one item. And simplicity here is the name of the game. So if it's one item a week, one item a day, that will help, doing the brain dump, that helps us, center ourselves because it then leaves, at least it leaves the mind a little bit, right? Like once it's on paper, you can close the tab out in the head, like go from 75 tabs to 73 in a week or something. I don't know.
I like that. Close the tab in your head.
Yeah. So this was super helpful. Where can my audience find you? Where are you on social media or email? Tell us where we can locate you.
Sure. They can go to my website, which is patriciadiesel.com. They can find me on Facebook. My page is Keep It Simple Now. And they can find me on Instagram under Patricia Diesel.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining
You're
us.
welcome. Thank you so much for having me. Remember, simplicity is not having less, it's actually having more.
Yes.
Okay? More energy,
Right.
more fun, more time.
There's space for more when there's simplicity.
That's right. That's right. Because you're letting go of what no longer serves you,
Right.
right? And you're inviting what's happening for you now. So it's really about now. Remember the now, remember the pause, and remember simplicity is not about having less, it's about having more. And we love more, right?
Yes.
In that regard.
Yes. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining, and we will see you next time.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
This episode is made possible with the support from Main Street Title. Main Street Title delivers your clear title on time, every time. This episode is made possible with support from Lauren DiCarlo at Singarli and DiCarlo. If you have any real estate transactions, they are the attorneys you want to be representing you. Whether it's a sale or a purchase, contact them. That's a wrap on another episode of the Amrita Effect. Nothing is wrong with you. You are just in the middle of becoming. If this resonated with you, please share it and subscribe. And if you could, leave a review so this reaches more women who need it. Just take one small step forward, and I'll see you in the next episode.